Nothing can hinder nurturing every learner. Together we soar, make dreams score. Amidst the challenge we face, the journey of learning leads the race. Education for all, let it rise, not fall.
Good day, math learners! Welcome again to another episode of Mathematics Tutorial for Grade 10 Mathematics. I'm your teacher for today, Sir Darwin S. Quartiles, to give you a discussion on 4th quarter Mathematics 10. And before we start, make sure that you have with you your pen and paper to take notes with the important ideas or concept of this discussion. Okay, learners, so to give you an idea on what is our topic for today, we will have a game which I will be calling 4 pics, 1 word. Okay, learners, so for the mechanics of our game, they're going to answer or guess what is the word from the given 4 pictures per slide, and you have 5 set of pictures to guess. So, let's start. For the first set of pictures, we have this. Okay, so time's up. The answer is measure. Very good. Let's move with number 2. The set of pictures are here. Time is up. Okay, so the answer is position. Again, very good. Let's move with number 3. So the set of pictures are here. Time's up. Okay, so the answer is quartile. Let's move with number 4, set of pictures. We have here. Time is up. The answer is decile. Very good. And lastly, we have the set of pictures here. Time is up. The answer is percentile. Excellent. Okay, so learners, congratulations for giving your best to answer the different set of questions. Okay, learners, I think you have an idea on what will be our topic for today. So, our topic will be the measures of position, specifically the ungrouped data. So from the ungrouped data, I will be discussing today the quartiles. Let's have first our learning objectives for today's lesson. First, you should be able to illustrate the quartiles of ungrouped data. Second, you should be able to solve the quartiles of ungrouped data using the Mendenhall and Sincich method. Okay, so let's move on with the Mendenhall and Sincich method. But before that, I will be giving you a brief history of where this came from. So this method is developed by William Mendenhall and Terry Sincich. This is used to find the position of the quartile in the given set of data. To start with our discussion for the quartiles of ungrouped data, let's define what is a quartile. So the quartiles are the set of score points which divide a distribution into 4 equal parts. So we have the first one, which is the first quartile, second is the second quartile, and the third one is the third quartile. So we don't have the 4th quartile since that will be the last data. So that means each part of this quartile is divided into 25% of the whole data. So for the first quartile, it has a coverage of 25%. For the second quartile, it has a 50%, while the third quartile has a 75% of the whole data. For our first quartile or Q sub 1 as a symbol, 25% of the data has a value of less than or equal to the Q sub 1. While 50% of the data has a value of less than or equal to the Q sub 2. 75% of the data has a value of less than or equal to Q sub 3. So that is the coverage of our first quartile, second quartile, and the third quartile. And additional, for our quartiles, take note that Q sub 1 is also called as the lower quartile or the first quartile. Next, Q sub 2 is nothing but the median, or that is the second quartile. And Q sub 3, that is the upper quartile or the third quartile. So take note of that keywords. So learners, let's move with the formula of the Mendenhall and Sincich method. So for the quartiles, it has a formula of Q sub 1 is equal to 1/4 times the quantity of n plus 1, wherein n is the total number of data. Second, for our Q sub 2, we have Q sub 2 is equal to 2/4 times the quantity of n plus 1. Again, wherein n is the total number of data. Third, for our Q sub 3, we have Q sub 3 is equal to 3/4 times the quantity of n plus 1. So that is for the formula of the Q sub 1, Q sub 2, and Q sub 3. Okay, so learners, let's move with the steps to solve the quartiles of the given set of data. So the first one, if you have an ungrouped data, you should be arranging the data in ascending order or from the lowest value to the highest value. After that, second one, find the number of n or the total number of elements presented in the data. Okay, so third step is to find the lower quartile of the given data using the Mendenhall and Sincich method, and followed by your second quartile and the third quartile. Okay, so let's have an example to give you an idea on how to use the Mendenhall and Sincich method. So, example, the owner of the milk tea shop recorded the number of customers who came into his milk tea shop each hour in a day. So the results were 14, 10, 12, 9, 17, 5, 8, 9, 14, 10, and 11. Okay, so to follow the steps, first, we need to arrange the data into ascending order or from lowest value to highest value. So the data should be arranged into this order. So the first one is 5, followed by 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12, 14, 14, and 17. That will be our first step. Second step, we are going to identify the total number of data given. So the total number of data is 11. So the value of our n is equal to 11. Third, let's now move with solving the first quartile, followed by the second and the third quartile. For our solution on our first quartile or Q sub 1 or the lower quartile, let's have this. So Q sub 1 is equal to 1/4 times the quantity of n plus 1. Since our data or the number of data given is 11, we are just going to substitute 11 to our letter n. So the solution will be Q sub 1 is equal to 1/4 times 11 plus 1. So we have Q sub 1 is equal to 1/4 times 12. So what is the 1/4 of 12? Or we have, if we are going to simplify that, that is simply 12/4. So 12 divided by 4 is simply equal to 3. So since our q sub 1 is equal to 3, that is not the answer. That is the position where we can find the answer. So we have q sub 1 is equal to 3. Since we are solving for the position, that means 3 is at third. So that means our first quartile is at the third from the given set of data. So we are going to count from the lowest to highest. So we have 5, 8, and 9. 9 is the third data. So that means our q sub 1 is the third element in the data, which is equal to 9. So that is the first quartile. Let's move with our upper quartile or our third quartile, or in symbol that is q sub 3. So for q sub 3 again, our formula is 3 over 4 times the quantity of n plus 1. Since n is the same as the two examples from q sub 1 and then q sub 2, we have n is equal to 11. So we have the solution. Q sub 3 is equal to 3 over 4 times the quantity of 11 plus 1. So if we are going to simplify that, we will have 3 over 4 times the quantity of 11 plus 1, since our value for n is equal to 11. Simplifying that, we will have q sub 3 is equal to 3 over 4 times 12. So next, we will have, after multiplying that 2, 3 over 4 times 12 is equal to 36 over 4. If we are going to divide 36 and 4, the answer will be 9. So q sub 3 is at the 9th position. So therefore, the q sub 3 is the 9th element in the data, which is 14. Okay, learners, I hope you understand the discussion on the Mendenhall and Sincich method for the quartiles of ungrouped data. But I will be giving you some notes regarding solving quartiles of ungrouped data using Mendenhall and Sincich method. Okay, so first, take note, if you have this situation wherein you will have 0.5 decimal for your q sub 1 and then 0.5 decimal part for your q sub 3, take note that you need to round up your q sub 1 to the nearest whole number and rounded down the third quartile to the nearest whole number. But for some situation wherein you have a higher than 0.5 decimal part, you just follow the rule that you need to round that up. So, okay learners, so that are the important rules that you need to take note when using the Mendenhall and Sincich method. Okay learners, so let's check your understanding on the lesson on Mendenhall and Sincich method. So I have here a practice exercise for you to answer. So the problem, given 50 multiple choice items in their quiz in Mathematics 10, the scores of 20 students are the following: 23, 38, 28, 46, 22, 20, 18, 34, 36, 35, 45, 48, 16, 22, 27, 25, 29, 31, 30, and 25. Okay, learners, so for your task, you need to answer the first quartile and third quartile only. I will be giving you 5 minutes to answer the given set of problems. Okay, learners, time is up. Let's check your answer. So for the first quartile, the answer is equal to 5.25, which will be rounded down into 5. So that means your first quartile is at the 5th position from the given data. So the 5th data is 22. So our first quartile is at the score of 22. Okay, so learners, let's move with your third quartile or q sub 3. So q sub 3 is equal to 15.75. So that should be rounded up into 16 as the whole number. So the 16th data in the given set of data or test score is 36. Okay, so the answer for Q sub 3 is 36. Okay, so very good learners. You got the two correct answers. And that's all for today's lesson. And before we end, I will be leaving you some exercise if you want to answer. Okay, so learners, if you want to check if your answer is correct, just comment your answer and I will be checking if your answers are correct. Again, that is the lesson on Mendenhall and Sincich method for the quartiles of ungrouped data.
Yeah.